Stick to the script. That is the message from the Department of Justice in the United States as Robert Mueller gears up to answer questions about his 2-year Russia investigation when he appears tomorrow before Congress. The letter reminds the special counsel that his testimony, quotes, must remain within the boundaries of your public report because matters within the scope of your investigation were covered by executive privilege.
Well, Democrats are hoping he'll ignore the advice, as this could be their last chance to get a definitive answer on whether President Trump obstructed justice and should be impeached. To underline the stakes involved, they've been holding a full dress rehearsal of the hearings today in an effort to coordinate their questions. Well, joining me now is Elizabeth Wydra, president of the Constitutional Accountability Centre. Elizabeth, if Mr. Mueller sticks to the parameters of his report, and there's no reason to think he won't, what will we actually gain from this?
Well, I think even if he does stay within the 4 corners of his report, and I think he's likely to do so because that's what he wants to do, not because that's what DOJ has told him to do, even though he no longer works for them, it will still be very important to hear from him directly all of the evidence of obstruction of justice engaged in by the president and his administration, as well as all of the many instances in which Trump and his campaign and his administration did at least coordinate in some way with Russia in interfering in the 2016 election and potentially covering that up, whether or not it amounted to a prosecutable case or not.
So what's the killer question for Dems? What's the most important thing they could ask him tomorrow?
Oh gosh, I think there are several. I mean, one, I would think they will try to get him to push back on Trump's characterization of this report as saying no collusion, no obstruction. That's not really what the report says at all. And having Mueller say those words himself will be important. Also, he makes clear in his report on the obstruction of justice charges that he could not make a recommendation to charge Trump because of Department of Justice policy that says you can't indict a sitting president. He also made clear he couldn't clear President Trump and that there was a constitutional process in place to take care of these issues. I would want to ask him, what exactly is that process? And then he could use the I word, impeachment.
Back to this idea that they're rehearsing today, that they're having a mock interrogation of Bob Mueller. I mean, when I've watched these sort of committee hearings in the past, it seems to be they use this opportunity to grandstand. It's their moment on television. Tomorrow, it seems, they're going to be much more forensic.
Yes, I think the idea is that they want to put forth a narrative. They want to put forth this narrative with Bob Mueller's testimony that there are these serious obstruction of justice incidents. There are also these serious incidences of foreign interference in the 2016 election. I think it's important to remember that, while this investigation might not have resulted in President Trump being, hauled into jail on criminal charges, there were charges, indictments against 37 individuals and entities, including Trump's campaign chairman, for interference in the 2016 election. So when you add that all together, the narrative here of the Mueller investigation is incredibly damning against President Trump. And because of the way that the narrative has been, frankly, manipulated by President Trump and his Attorney General Barr, that has kind of gotten lost a little bit. So I think we'll see tomorrow the Democrats trying to change the narrative and bring out these really very troubling charges of obstruction of justice and Russian and Trump campaign, if not collusion, certainly some friendly engagement.
But he is a reluctant witness. He said that he didn't want to come before Congress, and he said that if he did give evidence, it would be what is in the report. So is there a danger for the Democrats that there is over-expectation around the event tomorrow? Because it has been built up for weeks on end.
I think there has been a lot of hope placed on Bob Mueller throughout his investigation by people who are concerned about President Trump. But, look, even having Bob Mueller say out loud what's in that 448-page report could be incredibly powerful. But as one of the senators tweeted soon after it became clear that Mueller was going to testify, Bob Mueller will not save us. The Constitution puts that to, frankly, Congress and its oversight authority, as well as to the people, ultimately.
Elizabeth Wydra, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Very exciting day tomorrow.